No, not at all. And this is what I meant. I called you about 6, 7 months ago during the debates. I saw what was coming. I mean, because it was obvious that they weren't attacking each other. They were having meetings behind closed doors. I mean, you know, and I'm just completely...
Well, they said they weren't. They said they weren't. And if I find out a year down the road or something when one of their people shoots their mouth off, if I found out they lied to us, all hell's going to break loose. You go ahead.
Yeah, that's what I was telling you when I called before, that I would take every one of the subscribers I've got, and I'll just turn every gun I have against them on the videos I'm making. I mean, because that's just it's ridiculous. Well,
let's not do that yet. I mean, Ron Paul and Rand Paul need to respond, and that doesn't even mean on my show. Quite frankly, when they come on my show, I don't even get extra listeners. People want to hear my commentary, my analysis. I mean, I haven't even been trying to get them on the last 3-4 months. Salon was asking, hey, where's Ron Paul? I'm like, well, we tried a few times to get him on. They said they would come on later. They were busy. Fine. Doesn't matter to me. You know, I'm doing them a favor having them on my show. This show was the original launch pad out of Texas for these guys. Ron Paul's admitted that. So, you know, again, I haven't even attempted to get them on the show. They need to come on shows or do a press conference and explain all this to us. I'm going to have a message I'm going to shoot later today that'll be up at YouTube tonight at Infowars.com. And it's going to be a message directly to these guys. And I want to hear my points answered. This is all just a brainstorm session with you on air. But let me tell you, we may not fully understand what they're doing. They need to make it clear to us, because what they've done has gone over like a Led Zeppelin. All right, I have broken down for the last hour the fact that Ron Paul says to supporters, be polite and go give your delegates to Mitt Romney. After just keeping them the momentum and the donations and everything going, now merge with Mitt Romney. And Rand coming out in a coordinated fashion endorsing Mitt Romney. They need to explain themselves on this front. This is what I saw in their political strategy, but not what they put out to their supporters. And it's the political way this was done and the way the supporters were used as pure capital that is the reason I'm being somewhat negative. I still respect their voting records, respect both men, support them over the gun-grabbing New World Order people that are in office they're fighting. But we need clear messages. You see, the message of liberty is starting to really have an effect and hit pay dirt. We're starting to really win. And we don't need to see, you know, Anakin Skywalker go over to Emperor Palpatine here. I mean, we really don't need to see this right now. Let's go back to your phone calls. Let's go to John in Wyoming. You're on the air, John. What do you think of this?
Yeah, Alex, when I lived in Southeast Texas, now I've known Ron Paul personally for 38 years, and I have the same gut feeling that you do about this thing. This whole thing stinks of a sellout. Now, let me tell you two things that have happened in his campaign that seem like deliberate sabotage. First of all, I still have a lot of friends and relatives living in the Houston area, although I'm way up here in Sheridan, Wyoming. And all of my friends and relatives were saying that why the heck did Ron not tour through Houston and Harris County when he was campaigning for
No. You notice even before Texas and other key states, he said, we're no longer going for delegates. We're no longer going in these states. And I'm like, you could have won Texas. I saw that and I said, oh, no, don't give over. Don't kneel to the dark side. And then now this, I mean, how many more? I mean, I'm sorry, go ahead, sir. Well, that's another key point right there. I'm writing that down. You're right, did not campaign hard in Texas.
Yeah, there's another key point, is I noticed that he was not speaking at the NRA convention in St. Louis. And then at first I thought, well, the NRA didn't invite him. But when I called them, they said, John, we invited all of the Republican candidates, but for some reason Ron did not accept. And I called Ron's campaign headquarters in Virginia, and I said, what's going on here? And they gave me a bunch of Weasley remarks as to why Ron didn't speak. I said, I would have personally driven, because I've been a life member of the NRA since 1978. I said, I would have personally driven from Sheridan, Wyoming to St. Louis to introduce Ron.
No, that would have been an absolute key to speak at that. I mean, so many Republican candidates do. It was insane. Listen, I mean, I'll tell you, the last few months when our listeners call up supporting and even trying to give money, they'll get little snide remarks about me if my name's brought up. That never happened before. I mean, I wonder who is in that campaign now. I mean, is it Bill Clinton running it or something?
Well, the whole point is Ron was the only real pro-gun candidate who would have been embraced by the NRA membership and gun owners all over the country, and yet he blew that golden opportunity. He didn't show up. And
No. Instead, it was all about Campaign for Liberty and the idea of liberty on campuses, which I know is effective and good, but listen, he stopped doing a lot of big syndicated shows that were his bread and butter about 4 months ago. I tell you, look, before I was just kind of, hey, it doesn't matter, he's not going to win now, let folks be delusional about the delegate thing. I knew we had to cross this bridge, and I thought, please don't do what my gut tells me is about to happen. And I tell you, like you said, my gut, maybe it's threats. You know, they called up, in the early 90s, they called up Ross Perot and said, we're going to kill your daughter and your family. And he was going to win. Imagine, Ron Paul should have run third party to inject real ideas. He'd have gotten $50 million. That would have built a new third rail in this country, but it didn't happen. What's your final analysis? What's your gut tell you on this one, John?
I think, Alex, we're being sold out, and why, I don't know, and I don't know if we'll ever know, but something is happening to sell us out.
Yeah, it's probably the VP slot. Well, as all of our listeners know, I absolutely love Ron Paul and his incredible voting record, his philosophy of constitutional limited government, his incredibly positive voting record that is perfect. Rand Paul, who I encouraged to run, my listeners were the first to give him money, the first to staff his original staff. I know he's a good man. And I understand why, if you have Romney approach him and talk about a cabinet slot for Ron Paul or VP for Rand, and I know that's being debated and up in the air and they're having private meetings, I understand how they could say to themselves, well, let's take over the Republican Party or part of it with the giant liberty movement. But that's not what happens in politics. Mitt Romney is bought and paid for. His voting record, his fruits, abortion, open borders, gun control, carbon taxes, wrote Obamacare. It's really O'Romney care or Rombumacare. I don't know how you combine their two names. O'Romney care. That's not really going to happen. You know, the question is, can you push Romney to be good? I can't stand Barack Obama. I wish Mitt Romney was for real. But here's the deal. I can't go down with the sinking Campaign for Liberty ship. I can't do it. I mean, if it's just going to be taken over by a bunch of slightly libertarian Republicans, when our country is having its entire Bill of Rights and Constitution overthrown, a technocracy is coming in, I cannot and I will not go down with that sinking ship. And let me tell you, we're on over 100 stations, XM 166. If you just joined us, I'm Alex Jones, Syndicated Radio. We're live. It is Friday, the 8th day of June, 2012. I cannot go down with my family with the Romney ship. Now, I'm not in overdrive attacking Romney. You notice it's Obama saying he's going to sign executive orders to put us under UN control with law of the sea. It's Obama going into hyperwarp with checkpoints and police state and TSA. If Romney got in and suddenly shut down the TSA or got rid of the body scanners and did cut taxes and shut down some bases, I'd go, wow, well, the elite has figured out we're going to collapse if they don't back off. Well, Romney's kind of like Reagan, you know. But again, I reserve judgment on that until I see something different. I don't just, I oppose Obama because I thought you didn't like Bush. Why don't you like Obama? Because he's bought and paid for by the same people. Look at his advisors. Look who's giving him money. I knew what he was going to do. Not because I'm smart, but because I'm not an idiot. I'm not an idiot. I'm not a moron. I mean, is that hard to figure out? How many times? We have an illustration hanging on the wall. In fact, Aaron just Twittered it out. He took a photo of it. Guys, will you go to the Real Alex Jones? I asked him to tweet it during the last break. And it shows a pyramid that's the New World Order with a red leg and a blue leg. The blue leg's the Democrats, the red leg's the Republicans. And each election, one of the legs steps forward and crushes the constituents. That's an analogy I talked about for over a decade. Folks have picked that up and put it into an illustration. We wanted to create a new leg or two new legs of libertarian constitutionalism to take America back. Now, there it is. We can blow that up, actually. Just click on the photo. Thank you. That's hanging on our wall here in the office. Left, right, left, right. Next time I'll vote Democrat, the Republican says, as they're being stepped on. Next time I'll vote Republican, the Democrat says, as they're being stepped on. And so it goes on forever while the mainstream corporatist media belches out its propaganda. It's called The March of Tyranny by Ben Garrison. And there you have it, up at The Real Alex Jones on Twitter. So I'm going to try to shut up and go back to your calls, but, you know, these emails are pouring in. Has Romney turned against the New World Order? Question mark. Are Easter bunnies real? I don't know. Is Santa Claus real? Last time I checked, no. What if the Mormons, Amish, etc. have turned against the New World Order and are secretly trying to defeat them? Why did, most of the Mormons I've seen are supporting Ron Paul. Why did Clinton come out to be anti-Romney? Because the Clintons, through blackmail, run Obama. Why is LaRouche seeming to be pro-Romney and anti-Obama? Because they see it as a signal, if we get rid of Obama, to the world that things are changing. Only if it's an impeachment, though. The devil has so many devious scams up his sleeve. I'm sure it's all planned by God regardless. If they come out, maybe they'll blow their cover, but they need to unite and say, Romney, Ron Paul, Rand are here to double-cross the New World Order. That sounds like delusion. Here's another one from Ernie. I think they probably have been threatened. Think so? We get threatened on a daily basis. Yes, undoubtedly. Ron Paul entered a very dangerous realm where he really was winning the early primaries. Then when they stole it from him, people thought, well, he's not really going to win. Momentum did shift to Romney, but again, there's no hype behind him because they know that conservatives are like, this guy has a bad record. I mean, do you need me to play the clips of him endorsing abortion? I've always supported abortion or gun control or any of it. I mean, look, I just want a future. I'm not just here to oppose people. So many people we had on as guests endorsed Obama. And I would still have them on as guests, people like Mike Rivero, because I understood that they really wanted to believe that things were going to get better, like children. And then, of course, I forgave folks when I was proven right again that Obama sold everybody out. But I understood why people wanted to believe that Obama was a good guy. But I'm like, I'm sorry, it's not the case. The way they announced this, the way Ron Paul said in his own press release, you know, you need to be respectful, Ron Paul supporters who've been beat up and everything else when they're the majority, when they've really won, when they're the delegates, and the Republican leadership says, no, we're taking the delegates, and changes the rules, and people say no, 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 and the police beat them up. The answer is you go and you sit there as our good little block and you support Romney. And is it better to get Romney in than Obama? Or is it better because we know Obama's bad, he's been discredited, to keep him in and just so we can impeach him and so we can fully, with more libertarian types, take control of the House and Senate? Because you know what happens when Republicans get the House, Senate, and the executive. Can you imagine? They love the drones. They love the NDAA. They love handing control over to the UN. Another thing, Ron Paul hardly talked about Congressman Walter Jones's bill to impeach. That should have been his #1 issue. We'd try to get those questions into Paul at press conferences, and they'd say, nope, nope.